I got it now.
Oh,
This is for Vada.
okay. This story is for Vada.
Great. So tell me where we are.
We're in Clarksdale, Mississippi, in the office of the Visit Clarksdale Tourism Office.
Great. And how long have you lived in this area?
I've lived in Clarksdale all my life, with the exception of about 5 years after we were married, and moved to Jackson and wanted to come back to the Delta. So we moved back to Clarksdale with our family.
Yeah. And did your grandparents live here?
They lived right outside of town, in a small town between here and Parchman, Mississippi, where the penitentiary is, Rome, Mississippi. I didn't know my grandmother. She died when my mother was 12 years old, and my father's family, actually, he was my father's father was actually superintendent of Parchman over the cotton farm in 1915, and they lived in the Delta, Matson, Mississippi, which is probably 5 miles from Clarksdale. He was a planter, farmer, cotton farms.
Cotton. So you decided not to become a farmer?
My father was not a farmer. He was in the chemical business, and he also developed Stuckey stores along the interstates
No kidding.
back in the 60s and 70s.
Great. And so what did you decide to go into?
Well, I've gone into construction and building, and primarily focused on custom homes for a long time, but my heart and passion was revitalization of downtown. So I changed over to renovating buildings, getting them on the historical registry, using historic tax credits, and developing properties downtown for the past 18, 19 years, 20 years.
Yeah. Well, the Delta is some of the most beautiful country I've ever seen. It's unbelievably gorgeous.
Well, I'm glad you like it, and I think so too.
I love it.
But I'm
I love
glad
it.
you like it.
Tell me some of the wildlife you have around here.
The wildlife?
Yeah, other than the parties.
Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a hunter. My daughter, I have 4 daughters, and one of them, the youngest, she does hunt. She hunts deer. She's even killed a huge hog when she was out in the woods hunting, and she ended up killing that. It was huge.
And they're dangerous, aren't they?
They're dangerous. She doesn't go hog hunting, but and she's gone turkey hunting, duck hunting. But we got beautiful wildlife with, fox. I see them in town, and you know, just there's bear.
What kind?
You know, I guess they're brown bear.
Okay.
You know, I'm not a outdoorsman, but and we've we've had a few sightings of alligators, you know, over the last several years, well, last decade. And birds, you know, the egrets and different things, cranes that come through that I've noticed more so now than when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just beautiful to
I saw an
have it right at
armadillo. Do you have?
you have armadillos
You
and
do?
possums and raccoons
Oh, okay. All right.
and all of these things.
Okay, that's wild
You know.
for me. Yeah.
And even, you know, Coahoma County is the county we're in. And Coahoma means Red Panther in Choctaw.
Oh.
So, you know, I'm not the one to discuss whether we had panthers or not, but, you know, the Choctaws, they came up with, you know, why don't we have this name?
Yeah.
But we do have bobcat for sure. And it's great.
Cool. Yeah. So tell me something about Robert Johnson.
Oh, I'm not the historian on Robert Johnson. I mean,
No.
no, I mean, you know, there's a lot of myths about Robert Johnson. How did he die? The crossroads and all that. And so, you know, the crossroads was a myth. You know, he's gone for a year and he comes back and he's this master musician.
Right.
You know, and the tale is that he's at the crossroads where he sells his soul to the devil by a tree out in the end of, you know, 2 dirt roads cross each other. And, you know, but Clarksdale is known for the crossroads because Highway 61 and 49. So 2 blues highways cross here, intersect here. And so if you were a blues musician coming out of the Delta, headed north, coming to Clarksdale, or Memphis or St. Louis or Chicago, you came through at these crossroads. By rail, train, walking, you came through these crossroads. So that's the big historical marker here. Is but it's so interesting because Elvis came through there when he was going to Shreveport, and he did shows here. But going to Shreveport, anytime those guys, Carl Perkins and Johnny Cash, any of them were doing shows, they would come through the Delta. But when they, when they went south, they came through here. So
this has been a center for blues music for how long?
Oh well, in 1903, Charles Peabody came from Boston to do an article for the American Folklore magazine. Okay. And he wrote an article about archaeologists on the Indian mounds. And he came to Clarksdale, and in his article he wrote about how the people that he hired to dig were the blacks in Clarksdale, and so they were the laborers. And so as they dug, they started these chants, and he said it was the most bizarre thing he'd ever heard. And that's the first written account of blues music. They didn't call it blues at that time.
Right.
W.C. Handy said the same thing. And, that was about the same time. W.C. Handy moved here from Florence, Alabama, to be an orchestra leader for a fraternal organization here. The Knights of Pythias or something like that. And they actually had a white fraternal order and a black, basically. And from what I understand, because I'm not the historian, but W.C. Handy's known as Father of the Blues, so Yeah.
So you have festivals here in town.
We do.
Tell me about those. What are they, and when are they?
Oh gosh, we have got this many festivals.
Wow.
And so they're not all big. A lot of them are little, small, intimate festivals. But this weekend, coming up weekend, from the 11th of April through the 14th is the Juke Joint Festival weekend with related events. Really, Juke Joint. The official day is Saturday. But you just got a ton of little bitty festivals that go through the year. One of the newest ones is the Red's Old Timers Blues Festival, which is May 25th. Red, Peyton owns Red's Juke Joint here.
Okay.
And he started this festival back in September, and he's an old timer, been with them, he just runs a juke joint, and he wanted one for the old timers. So that's exciting coming up. It's being developed. But we have, just for instance, Pine Top Perkins Foundation Master Class. We've got the Sunflower River Blues Festival in August. You have Cathead, which is a local blues art and CD store here. He has a little mini fest, anniversary festival. Deke's Harmonica Block Party. Deke moved here years ago. He does. He works on harmonicas and saxophones. Nice. And Tennessee Williams Festival in October. Deep Blues Festival is a new music festival that's just cranked up over the years. Hambone Festival.
What happens at the Tennessee Williams Festival?
Well, this year we'll have the unveiling of the Tennessee Williams Literary Trail Marker. But you have porch plays, you have competitions, high schools come and do the Stella test or do the Stella call, shout.
Oh, that's
but you have a lot of plays and interactions with the different groups that come through.
That's so great.
Yeah, it's great because Tennessee Williams lived here as a young boy. He lived in the old Episcopal rectory, which grandfather was a priest there. And he and his sister and his mother lived there with him for a time. And it was during that time that he would accompany his grandfather on visitations to particular ladies of the church, afternoon, whatever. And he would pick up all these interesting stories. But he named his characters, a lot of his characters, for real people in Clarksdale. they may or may not be anything like that character.
Right, right.
But he was so intrigued with the name, Brick on the cat on a hot tin roof.
Wow.
Baby Doll.
Baby Doll.
Baby Doll was a very prominent daughter of a banker here. Her son still lives here. And to know these people is really incredible to bring it all together, because we didn't, nobody told us about Tennessee Williams or really blues being this cultural art. So for us, it's a coming out, if you will, since, for me, since '99, of knowing that our town had all this rich cultural history, and it was hush hush.
And that it's really
it wasn't taboo.
important.
It was just like it just
Didn't make a big thing out of it.
It
was normal for you. But this is the thing: is that America's such a young country, and these little niches that really define who we are.
Sure. Yeah.
As a country, it's so interesting to come to them and to understand the value of them. They're just treasures.
Well, we had a writer speak at the library the other night. He's from Clarksdale. His name is Wright Thompson. He works for ESPN, sports writer, but just a great writer, and just travel all over the world. He's had documentaries that he's done, and to hear him talk about, if I could have been born to the same parents, with all the same upbringing, in the same house, but in a suburb of Atlanta, I wouldn't be the person I am today. It's because of Clarksdale and being surrounded by all this, whether we knew it or not. It's just, it has transformed us into a person that we wouldn't have been otherwise. Yep. Same thing for me. My calling was to come back here. I had a calling that was just, it was too strong to ignore. It overrode the world of saying, you can make more here. Life can be better here, So, and I was working and moving on up, but, we made sacrifices to come back here and don't regret it.
That's great. That's great. I admire that. I really admire that a lot.
But we did it selfishly.
Yeah, I hear you. Great.
Yeah.
So, favorite holiday is?
Favorite holidays? Christmas. I love Christmas.
What are your traditions around Christmas?
Traditions, it's the anticipation of Christmas. It is the, seeing local people out shopping, getting gifts for your family and friends. There's cold in the air. The small town window. Shop windows are dressed up, and people are excited and got a little thing about it. And I think it's a thing that you reminisce back to childhood, and, that we don't have to deal with city traffic and this and that. So, it's easy to step back and remember, because, we did grow up here. So you can remember what this building looked like. You can remember the decorations downtown and things like that. So, it's a good fond memory.